Hey gorgeous, welcome back to Life in Style. Today's video is going to be a recreation of the upcoming launch from MAC and Patrick Starr. I'm gonna put up the inspiration photo somewhere, whether I cut into the filming here or whatever, so you can see what inspired me to actually recreate this look. Now, at this point, a lot of YouTubers have received the PR package. I do not receive PR, but I was, watching their tutorials, and some people had good things to say about it. Some people had not so good things to say about it. Particularly the eyeshadow palettes. I was one that was very on board with this launch. I'm not sure if I'm going to get them or not. I may very well get them both. I may just get one. I'm not sure. But what prompted me to do this video was looking at that and thinking, companies are just launching so much nowadays. It's every day, every week, every month. Somebody is coming out with something, and it's hard to keep up. When you're receiving PR, absolutely fine, no issues. But when you're spending your hard-earned money, you need to know where to put your money. Are you going to get this launch? Is this going to be a pass for you? Or is this something that, you absolutely have to have, regardless of the price? I will say that the price for each kit, there are two in total, and again, I'll put a picture or something somewhere here, are $49.50. That is really not a bad price at all. You get an eyeshadow quad, a lipstick, a lip gloss, and also a dual blush compact. The packaging is absolutely gorgeous and perfect for spring, and the looks that have come out of the eyeshadow palettes are absolutely gorgeous. Again, there wasn't a horrendous amount of negative feedback about it. Some people just found some of the shadows a little hard to blend or not swatching well, but overall people seem to have a good initial reaction to the launch. Again, this is just the PR packages, that have gone out to YouTubers, so you got to take that, unfortunately, with a grain of salt. And I understand that the normal consumer really, and not that it's unfortunate, but I think as an average consumer, everybody should do that. This is a collection that I'm sure in the back of people's minds, you're going, is this going to sell out? Is this going to be like the Selena situation where you're going on, you're trying to get it? Is it really limited edition? Will some of these products be sold separately? None of them are being sold individually. Everything is in two separate kits. Bringing me to, after all of that, the reason why I did this video. What if I didn't want to buy that product? What if I don't choose to buy from MAC for a personal reason, or I just don't have the money to buy it? Perhaps I just spent my money last week on another new launch and I just don't, my wallet has no more left to give. I thought, I bet you any money, and I knew I could because I do love my blues. If you've watched my channel, I love my blues and my purples. I knew that I could find something in my collection to recreate that inspirational photo of Patrick in that collection, which absolutely wowed me and floored me and just blew me away with its intensity and its beauty. And I feel like I really was able to nail it. So as we're going through the video, you're gonna see, the products that I use on my eyes, but I'm going to show you now quickly what I did use. This is the Urban Decay Full Spectrum palette. This may not be available anymore, and I'm almost positive it's not. But again, I wasn't necessarily looking for products that, I could you could readily get. It's one of those things where if you look in your collection, you probably have something that can work. This is what the palette looks like without blinding you. It was one that I hadn't used a lot, but today it sure came in handy, and I absolutely love it. I also used some ColourPop shadows, but specifically two-piece, which is, I'm going to see if I can't hold it here because the light, I think, is washing it out, which is an absolutely gorgeous blue. So I started with this, then I went into a very dark blue in the Urban Decay Full Spectrum palette, and then I finished off with the ColourPop Super Shock Shadow in Luckfully. If you've watched my channel, any favorites, I've had this in here in those videos a lot. I really, really do love it. And again, it's one of those things where you don't have to use 2 and 3 shadows to make something work. I just wanted to make sure that this look was as vibrant and as dimensional and just full of a lot of texture, and I just wanted the look to be kind of what I feel Patrick represents. And again, I feel like I did a very good job with that. So without further ado and all my yakking, let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. So I'm going to start off by priming my eyelid, and I am using the Smashbox 24-Hour Photo Finish primer, which I really love. This is a great primer if you have oily eyelids, and I tend to have oily eyelids. This really helps to keep everything matte. Over time, as the day goes on, you don't have any of that pilling or like oiliness from shadows that can sometimes happen if you have oily lids. So I'm just getting that all over the lid, and I am going to set that down. I always set down any primer I use, no matter what brand, drugstore, high-end, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go into my ColourPop single pressed eyeshadows, and I'm going to use the shade Made to Last to just set that down. So I'm just grabbing a Sigma E40, as you can see there. I'm just going to tap it into the shadow. I'm not even going to tap off the excess. And then what I do is I start tapping it first onto my lid to get rid of that stickiness from the primer, and then I will go ahead and just kind of blend that out. The reason why I do this, I know some people do this and some people don't, but the reason why I do it is I find that when I set down that tackiness, and or it takes away the tackiness of the primer, any shadows I put on after tend to just glide on the eyelid. They don't skip, they don't feel like they're not going to blend out or anything like that. So, I mean, to each their own, but that's the reason why I do it. I'm going to start out by using the Urban Decay Full Spectrum palette, as you can see there. This was a palette that I hadn't used a lot, but boy did it come in handy today. So the color that I'm going to start out with is this color on the bottom, which is called Paranoia. It's kind of a lilac pinky shimmer. And again, I'm trying to recreate what's in the actual palette. So I wanted to find a shade and a finish that was as close to that as possible. I am going to pick up the Tapered blending again, the E40. This is what I tend to use to start out like carving my crease, and I'm going to pick up Paranoia, and that's what I'm going to use to start carving out the crease. And as usual, I always start out above the natural crease because I have hooded eyes. So when I am looking at someone straight ahead, I want to make sure that the color I'm putting on my lid is actually going to show up. So once that's on the lid and the way I want it, I'm actually going to go right into the blue. Now, you don't have to do the steps that I'm going to do if you have a blue that you like on its own. I actually used 3 different shades. One from the Full Spectrum palette, one of my ColourPop colors, and then over top that, one of the ColourPop Super Shock shadows in Luckfully, which I've shown this before. This is definitely one of my favorite blue shadows. As you can see, I've used the crap out of it, but it just gives this gorgeous iridescence to the eyes. And again, you don't have to do these steps. I just wanted to make it a little extra and really get that blue the way I wanted it. So what I am going to do is I am grabbing a flat synthetic brush. This one is from ColourPop. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but I will link this down below. But as you can see, it's very flat and tapered. I am going to wet it just a bit with some MAC Fix Plus because what I want to do is I want to adhere that color down to the lid first and then worry about blending it out and kind of smoking it out after. So I'm just going to wet my brush. I am going to dry off the excess because I don't want it to be too wet. And I am going to start out with the pressed ColourPop shadow. This is called Two Piece. As you can see there, it is a gorgeous blue color. So I'm going to pick that up on my brush and I'm going to basically just sweep it all across my lid, up and above the natural crease. So that is good the way that blue looks, and I'm going to pick up the darkest blue in the Urban Decay palette, which is the shade Minx up top there. Trying not to blind you. I don't know if you can catch that really well on the camera, but I'm going to wet the brush one more time. I'm going to go ahead and dry off that excess because I don't want it to be too wet, and I'm going to pick up that shade, and I'm basically just going to go over the entire lid over the blue that I've already put down with the ColourPop color. And I'm hoping you can catch it on camera, but that's just adding a really nice, how should I say, it's just adding really nice depth and dimension to it. So it's not just like, again, you don't have to do these steps and put so much blue or so many different shades. I just like the variations in the shades so that it just adds a little more interest and depth to the eyelid. So at this point, I am going to start blending because I'm going to put the Super Shock shadow over really just the bottom of the lid portion. So I do want to start blending out. I'm just going to grab another ColourPop brush. It's just a fluffy brush. It's a smaller fluffy brush, but the reason why I chose that is because I want to keep control over where I am blending. I don't want to blend away all of this color and just want to keep it concentrated up at the top. So that's blended nicely the way I want it. I'm gonna go in then with the ColourPop Super Shock Shadow and Luckfully. I'm not even gonna wet the brush this time because this is a very squishy consistency. If you've used the ColourPop Super Shock shadows before, you know exactly what I mean. So I'm just going back in with that flat brush, picked up a little bit of that color, and I'm gonna keep that concentrated low on the lid. I don't wanna go up too high to then have to blend out further. We are going to blend out just a bit because we have to add the pink, but I don't want to bring this up too high. And again, I just like that, you know, color upon color upon color, and that's why I chose to use 3 different shadows. But again, you do not have to do this whatsoever. And the reason, you know, why I'm doing it is because it was in my collection, and really this video is about pulling stuff from your own collection to recreate things. I mean, these makeup companies, and you know, Lord knows I'm not complaining, my wallet is, but I'm not, are just coming out with launch after launch every single day, every single week. And if you're not getting PR or free makeup, that can take its toll, you know. People want to buy stuff, but perhaps you're on a budget, you know, and so for me it was, I love that look. That look is what I'm all about, but I bet you I could recreate it without even having that palette in, you know, in front of me. So I'm gonna start doing the pink, as you can see, like I did here. I'm gonna go back into the Full Spectrum palette from Urban Decay, and I'm gonna pick up the color Gossip, which is that nice bright pink right there. So I'm going to pick up this shade with a fluffier brush. This is kind of like the E40 that I use. It's just a ColourPop version. So I'm going to pick up Gossip, and just a little bit, I'm going to tap off most of that excess, and I'm going to lightly start putting it half on the blue and half on my lid, and slowly start building that up because I do want the pink to show up. And what I did here, and you'll see me do it on the eye I'm working on now, is once I get this down and kind of blend it in, I concentrate a lot of the pink on the corner of the eye because I really want it to show up the way the picture shows him wearing it. So once that is set down the way I want it, I'm going to grab a fluffy brush, no color, and I'm going to lightly blend the pink. I'm not going to go into the blue. Sorry, my hair's getting in the way there. I'm just going to blend that up just a bit so again it's not too harsh. You'll see the placement, of course, but you won't have these harsh lines. It'll like melt into the skin. Now I want to highlight the brow bone, so I'm just going to stay in the Urban Decay palette and use the shade Bump that you see right there. It's just a straight up matte white. As you guys know, I love a matte white to highlight the brow bone. I don't mind shimmer sometimes, but to me, the shimmer shade, if you're highlighting your brow bone, it almost like it calls too much attention to just that portion, and to me, the rest of the eye is lost. So I do like a good matte white because I feel it does the highlighting, but it doesn't necessarily take over the eye look. So So that's pretty much the top of the eyes done. I'm going to clean up underneath. I am going to put on my winged liner, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my face off camera just in the spirit of saving some time. This is not necessarily a full face tutorial, more of an eye tutorial. So I'm going to do some of that stuff off camera and then I'll be back. So as you can see, I've put on foundation, I put on lashes. The ones I'm wearing today are the Queen Bee style from Coco Lashes. And fun, ironic fact, I purchased these last year at IMATS. Today is IMATS in New York City. So a year ago, I was in IMATS purchasing these lashes. I haven't worn them since I bought them, but I put them on and, you know, in the box, they look crazy, you know, luscious, and, you know, they still are really a luscious lash, something more than like an everyday lash for me. And this one may be falling. I don't know. I had a little trouble with that one. But I really do like the way they look, so I think I'm going to buy some more because I only have one Queen Bee style. So what we're going to do now is finish off the bottom of the eyes, and what we're going to do is we're going to start right into the blue, because that's what I want to basically start out with near the lash line, and then we're going to use the pink to kind of smudge it out. I'm going to start out with the Super Shock Shadow in Luckfully. Because it is cream based, it's going to be smooth. So that I can apply it kind of more smoothly than a regular powder shadow. So I'm just going to draw the line next to the lash line and really amp up that bottom part of the eyes. I don't normally have on my lashes when I'm doing this, so it's a little different for me, but I thought since I was off camera doing everything else, I was going to go ahead and apply the lashes. Once the placement is right, I am going to go into one of the powder shadows and use that just to deepen up the blue a little more. So once I have the Super Shock Shadow down the way I want it, I'm going to go ahead and grab the blue color from the Full Spectrum palette, and I'm going to grab that on a smaller brush. Basically like, well, this is a crease brush, but as you can see, it's very dense and very well shaped, because what I want to do is I want to deepen up the color, obviously, but spread it out a little more, blend it out a little more before we go into the pink. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that blue because I don't want to go too crazy with it, and I'm going to tap off most of the excess. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick as close to the lash line as I can and then just start smudging that out. So as you can see, it didn't really take too much to smoke it out. You can definitely tell the difference between this eye and this eye here. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other eye. This is definitely not as easy with lashes than without, because like I said, this is the first time I've put on my lashes and then done the lower lash line, and I'm just not used to that. So I've blown out the blue just how I like it. I'm going to go ahead and go back into that pink we used up top, which is called Gossip, also in the Urban Decay palette. I am going to use basically a contour brush from e.l.f., and that's the way it looks. Again, I just like it because it's very well packed down, and I can kind of control where I put the color. So I'm going to go right under that blue and start really blowing that out a little more with that pink. So I have that blown out on the bottom. You can't see the pink too much. I think these lights are really washing me out, because even me looking in the mirror now and I'm looking in the camera, I look very washed out on camera. I do not look that washed out in the mirror. Trust me, I look a lot healthier. I did apply blush as well. I kept it soft because the inspiration picture really focused on the eyes. Although you did, he obviously had blush on because he was using the entire kit. Now the lip for this kit is this vibrant Va Va Voom pink, just like this gorgeous in your face pink, and I absolutely love it, especially for people with and Patrick's skin tone. That pink really pops on the lips. So the one that I have today, and it's the closest one I have here, again, I wanted to use things in my collection, is an e.l.f. lipstick in the shade Orchid, and I'm just going to show it to you. So it is kind of pinky purple, but again, it's the most vibrant kind of that type of color lipstick that I own. And then on top of it, I am going to put on, which I'm glad I have this, a High Shine Shea Butter lip gloss from LA Colors, and that's the shade there. So I think this will turn it a little more pink. So let's go ahead and apply this lip color. So as you can see, this is the final look. Again, I was so inspired as I continued to look at this picture. Of course, one set is, full of purples and plums, and the other set has that vibrant blue that it's just, you see it everywhere right now, and I'm all about both of those types of shades. But the more I kept looking at the inspiration picture, the more I thought I could probably recreate that with stuff that's already in my collection. So I kind of challenge you to go into your collection. If you see a picture of a new, collection or eyeshadow palette or something that's coming out, you may be able to recreate the look pretty close to what they show with what you have already. I'm really happy with the way this look turned out. It is very vibrant, very almost editorial looking, but the lips really, for me, set it off. I think that even though the eyes are popping and saying a lot, a nude lip just would not have worked with this look. So I'm really excited the way it turned out. I will link what I have down below. Again, it's what's in my collection. Some of the stuff may be available, some of the stuff may already be sold out. I don't believe the full spectrum palette is available anymore by Urban Decay. This was something that was out probably a year or two, but if I can find it, I will definitely link it for you. ColourPop shadows are very easy to come by. Even the Super Shock shadow that I have in Luckfully is readily available, as are the brushes that I use today. So thank you again for spending a few minutes of your day with me. I hope it's a look that you enjoyed. I certainly enjoyed putting it together. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also remember to click that little bell so you get alerted as to whenever I upload new content. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.